welcome everybody to a special edition of the Daily Cheat Sheet. Glad Golan was able to wake up. It is 2:40 in the morning in Barcelona. Might be a little later at this point. Neither
3:15.
3:15 in the morning, neither here nor there. Man, the dude Stern is with us, and promises made, promises kept. Trump promised to do this for the better part of 10 years. He said Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon, and nobody believed him. And Jennifer Griffin on Fox News said this was the best. I think it was her that said this was the best kept secret in 18 years that she's seen at the Pentagon, man. It's pretty awesome.
It's funny that you said promises made, promises kept, because I saw Glenn Youngkin say that, and I thought that was such a good, appropriate statement. Promises made, promises kept. These guys have been calling for the genocide of another nation since 1978, 79. This is something that Trump promised. They are not going to get a bomb. They went to the final straw was they went to the European Union. There was a meeting with foreign delegates and Araz Karachi, or whatever his name is, the foreign minister for Iran. And he said, what they were telling him was make a deal with Trump, get back to the table. That offer that Steve Witkoff put on the table is still there. Go to it, go do it. And he said, we will not go to the bargaining table so long as the Zionist regime is bombing us, as if they had any leverage to make any kind of demands. And that was it. Boom, it's gone. They have nothing now. Let's see what happens. The world is a safer place today because of the strong leadership that Trump just showed the world. Don't fuck with America. Safety first. These hyenas and genocidal rats are going to get smashed one by one.
We are no longer a family-friendly show. Thank you, men, for doing that. And Golan, we're going to do this again in probably about 12 or 13 hours. But Trump hasn't spoken yet. And one of my favorite things that he just put out is Israel's now a safer place and the world is a safer place. And this is an extremely incredible thing that they were able to accomplish. And I thought something was up about 3 hours ago when the Saudi finance minister came out and sort of condemned Israel. I sort of said to myself, this is a little strange timing. And they were sending the stealth bombers all across America, and everybody was wondering what was going on. Well, we now know what was going on.
Absolutely. It's there's a great saying that military leaders will use, and it is the best way to prevent war is by winning the war before it starts. And I think Trump basically decided, I think letting Iran get the bomb, I don't know if that's going to prevent war. That's not peace. I don't know if giving them a postponement and having the negotiation when we see the duplicitousness of the regime, when we see how not willing they are to negotiate, how as we're negotiating, we're calling Hezbollah to help. They didn't. We're calling Iraq to help. They didn't. All of those things basically let us know that thing that Trump has been saying since before he was reelected, peace through strength. That's just what he did again. You hit hard, you hit smart, you hit before your enemies finish arming themselves. And the simplest answer for all those who are clutching their pearls at the moment is this isn't another Iraq. This isn't nation building, as men pointed out last week. This is simply targeted deterrence with the full weight of the U.S. power behind it. And speaking of U.S. power, you gotta love the American spirit of how about 6 bunker busters and a bunch of missiles, just chef's kiss all the way.
And the great thing is, too, to add to that, man, is I love that Trump announced it after the planes were out of Iranian airspace, and nobody even knew it was going on until he put the announcement on Truth Social. And when you look at the work they've obviously been doing with the Israeli government, it's incredible. You had J.D. Vance, the fake reports with Reuters, that he had a bad phone call with Israel. We know all these things to not be true right now. The clandestine, forget about the CIA. The way they were able to do this clandestinely is absolutely amazing. Outstanding.
This war is going to be studied for years. The way the Israelis decapitated all of the top generals before the first salvos even started. They took out all of the nuclear scientists. Precision strikes. We're not talking about hundreds of thousands dead. We're talking about several hundred dead. The Americans went in, took out Iran's nuclear sites. I believe it was 3 of them. It was Fordo, Isfahan, and I forgot the last one.
You did. I mean, the fact that you could do 2 out of those 3, you win. Don't worry. You're good.
But we went in there, took them out. Our boys are out and haven't lost a single life. None. 0. And now we're going to sit back and tell the Iranians what's next. You're going to try to lob something at our bases in the Middle East. This will be looked at as a trial run. Don't fuck with us. So he really is showing them, he's making peace through strength, smacking them down when they don't listen, and then giving them the chance. It's what he did again and again and again with them. Hey, I'm giving you an off ramp. Come back to the table. You can negotiate. I bet he's still going to ask them to come to the table after this and
No, he
say,
is.
listen, yeah, come back.
100%.
Come back.
100% he is. Not only is he, but if you look at what he posted, he was like, "This is what happened. This is what I did," and then he reiterated, "Now is the time for peace." He kept saying that again, and now he hasn't spoken yet. He's probably 45 minutes away from speaking, or 40 minutes away from speaking right now. So we'll see what he has to say. But is there anything better than waiting until your opponent is lying prostrate on the floor and then saying, "Hey, why don't we make a deal?" Right?
But
That's what
I
he's
want to
doing.
give Golan, it's important for people to really get like that because you still have a lot of opponents to this, right? So you have the finance minister in Europe at this moment and yesterday negotiating, saying, we're not willing to give up and listen to your. I mean, they must have so many Baghdad Bobs over there that are telling them that they're doing well. For the finance minister to go to Europe and have the cojones to say, no, we're going to still enrich. And Trump heard this, or Trump did, and said, these guys are nuts. We got to take these. I want people to understand this is who you're dealing with. That the finance minister, as his country's sites are getting bombed, nuclear scientists getting killed, all this is stuff going on, they still think they have leverage. Absolute delusion.
That is not the thing to focus on. Everything that we're seeing is delusional. And you're right. I'm not taking away from what you're saying. But the Iranians enriching beyond 3% is only for a nuclear bomb. There's no other reason for them to go to 60%, which they did. They have some convoluted excuse that whatever. It doesn't make any sense. So trying to deal rationally and reasonably, a really wise guy told me that, wise person I know said, trying to have a rational argument with people that are basing everything on irrational. How'd you say it? Give it to me.
He's referring to me. Trying to have a rational conversation with somebody that's irrational is crazy.
It's crazy.
I know I said it better last time. It's trying to talk rational to the irrational.
Right. So here's the deal, is that you could ignore everything the Iranians say, and you just need to look at what they're doing, and then you act upon what they're doing, which is what Trump did. The Iranians love to negotiate. They're masters at negotiating. They invented chess. I mean, these guys will just drag it out while in the background under some mountain somewhere, they're building a bomb. You don't need that. Trump just goes, listen, I gave you an off ramp. You just went to the Europeans and told them and made demands. You just made more demands. You don't get to make more demands. You're getting your asses handed to you. You should be begging us to make it stop. When you're getting your asses beat, you beg for an end. You sue for peace. They didn't do that. They came back with some irrational, crazy demands that, they think they still have power. Fine, you're going to get smacked again. And this is the way it should have been. Imagine, Dr. Seth was talking to him earlier, and he goes, imagine we had done it this way when it came to Iraq. Imagine we came in, took out Saddam, took out the whatever. We realized there were no chemical weapons, killed his sons, and then get the hell out. It would have been fantastic. It would have been great. We don't need to. Trump doesn't want to get bogged down with boots on the ground in a quagmire. He's not going to. This is it. You go in, you smack him, you leave.
Minus that, though, the problem with Pap Smear's theory is that you still get ISIS. And that's the problem. I don't want to equate this with Iraq because, again, they're different people go on. And I also want to celebrate this with caution, okay? We don't know how they're going to react to this. They still have a lot of ballistic missiles. They still have a lot of friends in that region that can make life hell for Israelis and Americans and everybody else in that region. So it's amazing what Trump did, but let's have a little bit of caution and prayer with what these people might do.
Sure, but this is not an attempt at regime change. It's an important thing to point out, right? Those who are whining and crying, this is just like Iraq, but that's the same people who can't tell the difference between a war and a warning, right? this is not the end of what's happening. This is actually, in many ways, an opening salvo of basically saying, okay, we talked about this. This is all I've been talking about. It's what I talked about before I was elected. You can't have a nuclear program. I got elected. Guess what? You can't have a nuclear program. We're in a negotiation. Okay, that's fine, but you can't have a nuclear program. This is just a reminder. Oh, no, I'm sorry. You didn't understand to put your toys away. So, like a parent, I put them away for you. Okay, we're still needing peace. We still need to have a long-term conversation. I'm not trying to flip and add democracy to the mix here. This is, as men pointed out, this is chess. This is not poker. This is not anything else. So if the neocons want to rebuild a country from scratch, great. We're not sending in ground troops here. We're not nation building. We're not rewriting a constitution. We're not saying anything except for stop with the nukes, stop funding terror. If you don't do the things we're saying that we need you to do on the world stage, then we're going to end your facilities and we're going to do it without stepping foot inside. That's the difference between stupid and strategic. So no, these two things are not comparable.
Agreed. Absolutely agree. And you know what was always bewildering to me was, you have guys like the Houthis that were bombing our ships. They attacked something like 250 ships in the right?
For a couple of years, by the way.
For a couple of years. And we're the strongest military in the world. And you have a couple of guys that have the mentality of cavemen. And they're just continuously attacking our ships. And we let them get away with it. Like, what alternate reality are we living in? That the little mouse could come up to the lion and nip at him and keep on chewing at his foot. Like, that doesn't happen. They get smacked. They should be smacked. So this is it. Great. I'd love to see the Houthis, because they said that if America attacks Iran, they're going to start attacking ships again. All right, goodbye, Yemen. Goodbye. Those guys will be done. And, we've been doing very, very surgical strikes and taking out their port. And it's really sad for the people of Yemen because they're starving to death over there. It's a terrible predicament they're in, but their leaders are making terrible decisions for them. Actions have consequences. This is like one of the current reoccurring themes throughout all of this stuff, is that actions have consequences. Actions like October 7th had massive consequences for the ring of fire that Iran built around Israel. Open borders in America for 4 years have consequences, and now you're having mass roundups. It wouldn't have been that way. We wouldn't have had that. So all of these things, the common theme is actions have consequences. You push the lines, you do stuff, prepare, and it's not going to be clean. It won't always be clean when it comes back around, but it's just what needs to be done.
And well said. And Golan, the smoke hasn't settled. And I just want to get to that point. The smoke is still in the air over there. We don't see the ground yet. We don't exactly know any. So let's wait. And I'm just giving that cautious approach. I pray for the U.S. soldiers that are in that region. Remember, we have bases all over that region, especially in Qatar. And I'm praying for our soldiers tonight. I'm praying for the people of Israel tonight, of everybody in Israel. The Jews, the gays, the Christians, the Muslims, the Arabs, everybody that's in Israel tonight, that the Iron Dome protects. The Iron Dome doesn't discriminate. The Iron Dome isn't an apartheid Iron Dome, and it's not an apartheid David's arrow. So I'm praying that whatever retaliation these people have planned, if they do have it planned, everybody is safe.
I agree, and I think it's interesting to compare this. I'm going to use men's metaphor here of chess, right? You said the Persians invented chess. I mean, they took it from India, they refined it. So, but yes, let's give them credit for it. The thing that they added to chess was, and I can say this as an Israeli, we use the same phrase in Hebrew as they do in Persian, which is shachmat, right? What that means is checkmate. Checkmate doesn't mean the game is over. It doesn't mean the king is dead. What it means, it translates to, the king is helpless. Okay, that's an important thing, because it means that what you do is you put maximum pressure. The game doesn't end after you hit the king. The game ends when the king is surrounded and has no other options, and then the person decides to retire, knocks over the king. Okay, it's a great history lesson, because that's essentially what we're doing here. It's about patience, strategy, and thinking many moves ahead in order to end the game. Right now, to your point about the Iron Dome, David Sling, and all of that, Iranian state TV, they haven't figured out that their king's surrounded yet. They haven't. So this thing is not over yet. This thing is still in progress. This is not shachmat. This is not checkmate, because Iranian state TV just announced, Trump, you started it and we will end it. Now, I think maybe at this point, Khamenei should figure out that he should stop threatening America, should stop threatening Israel. It's a lot of talk, but we'll see what happens because we still have steps to go before this thing actually gets to a point where they knock the king over. We have to be prepared for what comes next. And there are a lot of U.S. troops that exist all over the region. Of course, Israel is still vulnerable. So they do have an opportunity to do some kind of retaliatory strike, and we have to be ready for it.
I think they're going to revert to their old trusty terrorism tactic where they're going to have their little cells go out and hit soft targets. And a lot of those guys are already here in the homeland. They're in the U.S.
You think it's going to happen domestically?
I think it's going to happen domestically. I don't think they're going to attack a lot of U.S. bases. The U.S. bases are too well fortified, and it's also too direct. I don't even think that they want to escalate that way. I think that they, let's go through this. They start lobbing their short-range missiles at U.S. bases in the Middle East. America's going to take out some of their cities. I mean, there's no scenario where that goes where they come out on top. So is it a suicide run for them? I don't think so. I think they love maintaining power. I think power is especially the guys at the top. They have a lot of guys underneath them that are very willing to sacrifice their lives. But the guys in charge, they love the good life. So they're going to, I think, rely on their sleeper cells. And it's important for everybody to be cautious, especially now. And especially in the third world. So you talk about Central South America, you talk about Thailand and some of these other countries where tourists like to go. There's a lot of Israelis or Jews or anyone that they could attack where they think that they would exact some revenge. That's what you're going to see. There's not going to be a lot of lone wolves. I don't think that's going to ignite anything. I think
it would be really interesting though if they did. I'm not saying this is going to happen, okay, but it would be really interesting if they did start attacking American positions in the Middle East. Because by last count, there are 50,000 U.S. service members that are stationed throughout the Middle East. You're talking about, 10 to 15,000 in Kuwait, another 10,000 in Bahrain, 10,000 in Qatar. Like, there's a lot. And if they decided to go after American installations, that would mean that Iran is attacking Arab states. That would mean that they are literally, even if they're attacking American installations within them, it would mean they're going to war with their own brothers and sisters in the Arab states, and that America and Israel would then have to step in to protect the Arab states against Iran. I mean, I'm not saying that's going to happen. Whoa, if that's next episode, whoever's writing this is.
Well, that was what but that's essentially what I've been saying is why Saudi Arabia and the UAE have been making so many investments into the United States. It was for protection. And the scary thing, and I mean this in all sincerity, when you're pushed into a corner, you don't know how somebody's going to react, especially crazy mullahs and crazy ayatollahs. And their ballistic systems are probably a little off tonight. So I really pray, Mend, that they don't send those ballistic missiles willy-nilly, because those bases don't have the Iron Dome. Those places are not protected by David's Arrow and all those places. So I pray that the UK and everybody is on, I'm sure they are, is on ready to shoot down as much as they can if that is the scenario.
Well, my favorite commentator from Iran, Syed, I've mentioned him before. We call him Tehran Bob, like Baghdad Bob. He was already threatening Saudi Arabia because somebody posted a picture of a lot of American bombers stationed in Saudi Arabia. And he goes, okay, it's not going to end well for the House of Saud. So they would love to, but they also talk a big game. They know that if they do that, it's going to be the end of everything that they hold dear. So their oil refineries, their sources of income, their homes, their capital, it'll all be leveled.
But again, just to your point, you're talking about rational. And we're not talking about irrational. And this is what I posted today on True Social, in a sense. Most Iranians were Persian, or they are Persian. The mullahs that took over are Muslim. And there's a distinction. I know they're all Muslim in a sense, but the radicalized version of the Iranians that we've seen since 1979, they're not rational. We do not know how they're going to react. So again, this is great news that Trump did this. Very Churchillian, and let's just pray. We have to pray that this goes the way it needs to go.
Yeah, we don't know what's coming next, and we can pray and we can hope and all the rest. I think There is a chance that that the retaliation is brutal. There is a chance the retaliation, comes at Americans, comes at Israelis, comes at the Western world in general, and we don't know what they're going to do. This is a genocidal regime. That's the thing, is that one of the reasons why we don't fuck with North Korea is because part of it is they have nuclear weapons, sure, but part of it is because they're crazy. They are willing to do things that a rational leadership, a rational government may not do. So far, the Iranians have been a lot of bluster, and when they attack, though, they have seemed to attack in a way that there's always been kind of an off ramp for. Even the craziest stuff, like what they've been doing in Israel lately, there seems to be an off ramp. Trump giving them 2 weeks, which we now know he wasn't actually going to give them, but everything seemed to be conversation, even when they were doing nutty stuff. This may be the moment when the nutty stuff goes to a different level. And if that happens, we don't have to just be prepared to try to defend. We have to be prepared for this to escalate into something that truly goes to another level.
So Iran state media just came out just 5 minutes ago and said on Iran state, every U.S. citizen and soldier in the region is a legitimate target after the strike. This is something we always have to take them at their word, and I pray that we could take them out before. Listen, they don't have the skies. So Israel's got the skies, and I pray that Israel's able to take out whatever they have up their sleeves and everybody comes in. But this is serious stuff.
Let's just point out, the Iranians bombed the U.S. barracks in Beirut and killed over 200 Americans. They killed over 600 Americans in Iraq and Afghanistan. They've spread terror and funded terror organizations throughout the Middle East. There's nothing that they're going to do now that's going to be different than anything that they've been doing all along. So what they've been doing all along is they've been piecemealing it so we don't feel it as it's one big hit, but they've continuously been attacking Americans and our interests in the region. They blew up that base in the desert of Jordan not too long ago. A whole bunch of Americans got injured or killed. I mean, and there was no response. That was under Biden. There was no response to that. So to pretend like now we're opening up the gates of hell on ourselves is foolish. It's not true. They've been attacking us for years. This is us ending the war. This is us finally saying enough is enough. I think the common thread between this and the war in Gaza and Hezbollah and all of it is enough is enough. We've seen what you guys are willing to do. We hear what you have been saying forever. Death to America, death to Israel, death to the West. We're taking you seriously. No more of that. No more of that. It's actually boggling to me that we could have the European Union ambassador sitting down with these guys and negotiating with the regime that chants death to America. What are we doing? Even talking to these guys. I get it. We needed to give them that off ramp. I'm all for it. And I've said it again and again and again, but it doesn't change the fact that you have these liars at the table saying, no, we only mean it as for peace. We don't really want the death. No, you do. And you've acted out on it. You've showed us what you're doing. We see what you're doing, and your words are all bullshit. Therefore, we now have an adult in the room who took action. The president took action. The adult is back in the room. America is back. America first. The world is safer.
I want people to remember, people don't know this. Both of you, first of all, for the record, both of these guys served, especially in Israel. So we don't have schlubs at the table. These are actually people that have served and know exactly what they're talking about. But go on. Remember before October 7th, there were riots on the street. Israel was in chaos. Every single Saturday night, you had people just screaming mad about judicial reform. They kept the reservists were not going to report to duty because of this. And the second October 7th happened, everything ended, and everybody in Israel, solidarity. It was amazing. Now, I pray, listen, you have a lot of people in America that have been against this, especially people on the right. It's cool. It's cool to question. It's cool to be against something. But I hope tonight, every single American, I know that's not going to be the case, but I don't mind the Posobics and all these, and the Charlie Kirks who are questioning.
Charlie Kirk actually came out and said, at this point, let's not armchair quarterback this thing. Everybody should be backing the president. And I really respect him for that. Candace Owen, on the other hand, is having a meltdown.
Okay. You're very good. But go on to all the people that were against this. Like Charlie Kirk said, we're in, we've done this. we're out, and let promises made, promises kept. That's what Trump promised he was going to do. Just come back to the party, guys. Just come back to the party and have a little faith in Donald Trump. He hasn't let you down yet, and so on. Go on.
We have to. We have no choice but to back our president. We have no choice but to back the action. And by the way, for those who don't, they can complain, they can whine, they can talk to us about all the consequences. It's done now. Okay. So now we have a choice. We have a choice to, like Charlie Kirk said, to armchair quarterback this whole thing and now talk about all the things we could have done or would have done or should have done. Iran wasn't coming to the table. Okay. Don't forget, the Iranians are genocidal fanatics. Okay. And their messianic vision, an apocalyptic war had to happen. That's how the 12th Imam or whatever it is was going to return. So this was something that was inevitable, whether it happened now or whether it happened later. The only difference is now we get to have this conversation when they do not have a nuclear program intact anymore. At the end of the day, that's what needed to happen. And let's just talk about what actually is possible. Okay. Iran right now, they have ballistic missiles, they have cruise missiles. Those are limited in range and precision. They can get to, like we were talking about, some of the American installations in the Middle East, in other Arab countries, or let's say offshore. Their proxies not really working right now, the Hezbollahs, the Houthis, etc. So that's who they would have relied on to start hitting US bases and to drone stuff and to send rockets in. So that means they're launching from where they are now. But with Israel having achieved basically near total air superiority over Iran, right? They preemptively destroyed their launch abilities. Basically, they've suppressed the air offenses and the air defenses. Now, obviously, they still have the medium range missiles and things like that. It's not like Trump did this where he launched these major bunker busters and was like, well, I'm not preparing for what happens next. So something, at least, has been told to the people in the region, to the troops, to the allies like Israel and others to be prepared for what comes next. We have to be prepared for the unexpected, right? Expect the unexpected. So all of this can still go down, but it is an asymmetric balance at this point. What all of the people are saying that are not supporting what the president is doing right now, I don't want to hear about it. Right now, we're in the middle of something. And if you want to do the Monday morning quarterbacking, right? That's the phrase, because the game was on Sunday. Great. Do it later, and then you can talk about how you would have done it had you been the president, had you been the one running things. For the time being, shut the fuck up and let us get our job done.
Well said, both of you. Man, your final thoughts on this again. I go back to this was a brilliant strategy that Trump implemented. Obviously, he did it with Bibi, and he did it with people that he could trust in his government. And he kept the promise to the American people to keep them safe. A nuclear Iran is not a safe world. It's not a safe America. It's not safe for anybody if these crazies have it. And he did what I can't think of a president, to be honest with you, since maybe Richard. I can't think of a president that would have done what he did tonight. And God bless him. And this has nothing to do with party. America, the party right now is America. This isn't a Republican thing. This isn't a Democrat thing. This is an American thing. And he's the American president right now, and the best foreign policy one of my lifetime.
I will just say, thank God we don't have that crackling retard Harris in the office right now. Oh my God. So yes, one is he did what needed to be done. Promises made, promises kept. But he also gave them an off-ramp, and they did not take it. He gave them an off-ramp before this happened. He gave them an off-ramp after the war started with Israel. And they did not take it. They kept on miscalculating and misjudging. I mean, we went through the stuff on a previous episode, all of the miscalculations that they made in this war. So it is refreshing to have a strong leader back in charge, showing the world, showing the hyenas and the jackals of the world, the people that want to kill Americans, the people that hate freedom, hate us, that we are not taking it anymore. He locked down the border. And this is a great example. I mean, the kids that are growing up today are going to see this and say, wow, that is what a president is for. A president is not for selling out your country. A president is for protecting your country. You protect your people. You do what needs to be done, the tough decisions. And the fact that he did it in the face of so much opposition, and he did it anyway, but he also took the high ground by giving them those off-ramps and trying. trying diplomacy. He tried diplomacy. I mean, literally, there is nothing that anybody can say about him that this was done. I mean, this is textbook. This is something they're going to be teaching kids in military schools for years and years to come. This is how it's done.
Important that you know, you're extremely right. And all of your points have been great because people need to hear this. This is something, Golan, people need to hear, that even after the strike, he's offering them an off ramp. And it might not be the off ramp they like, and it's not going to be the off ramp they want, but this will go to show you, do they care about their people or not? And the odds are they don't give a we know they don't give a crap about their people. Go ahead, go on.
There's no question. He's given them off ramp after off ramp after off ramp. Trump gave them every chance to walk away from the cliff. And what did they do? They spit in our face. They dug in deeper. They dared us to stop them. I mean, this is the equivalent of when you have a bully in the schoolyard and you say to them, "Stop. I don't want violence. I want to just resolve this. Let's stop. Please stop. Please stop." And what you see is they keep knocking kids over and they keep stealing lunch money. They keep doing everything they're doing. Someone's got to punch them in the nose. And sometimes you got to punch them in the nose in a way that makes them not stand up again, or stand up a lot weaker than they used to. And how many off ramps did they need to get? It was stop enriching uranium. It was stop arming terrorists. It was stop shooting at Israel. It was just one after the other after the other. And then, by the way, before he did this, they were saying, oh, yeah, U.S. troops in the region are legitimate targets. They were not doing anything to pull back. They were clearly not waiting for the right offer to come along or something like that. So, yes, absolutely. This is where precision, power, and purpose came together to say, okay, time for the bully to understand that we are not asking anymore. It's not a war. It's not a full-scale invasion. We're not talking about regime change, although that might come from the people inside, and that's wonderful, but it is a surgical and crushing message. You don't get to hide behind the bunkers and proxies and all the other bluster and bullshit and think you're untouchable, because we're America and we don't stand for that bullshit anymore. And now that you understand that, because we punched you in the fucking nose as hard as we could, here's one more off ramp. It's the only thing he wrote in all caps. Now is the time for peace. So, okay, now, oh, sorry, you're bleeding. Go ahead, put your head up, come to the table. Let's go ahead and have a seat, and let's have another conversation. I think it's wonderful.
Mend wasn't around yesterday, and I just want both of you final points, but I want you to bring up that brilliant point you brought up, because we're going to have a lot of Iran truthers right now saying that there really was no nuclear bomb and all this stuff's going to, that Alex Jones will be on the tomorrow morning saying, they had no, and then Steve Bannon in his mother's basement is going to be saying something else. I want you to point out what Israel has done, because they have the chart of Bibi always coming to America saying they're close. And I want you to explain in a minute or less, or a minute and a half or less, what Israel has done to stop that from happening.
Well, okay, so the thing that Jude is talking about is that over and over and over again, we have seen a bunch of people. And by the way, it's the left and the right. It's Jon Stewart as well as Steve Bannon, right? Who have been pulling out those videos. Look, Bibi said in 2012 they were about to get the bomb. Bibi said in 2015 they were about to get the bomb. They've been saying we're about to get the bomb for years and years and years and years. So clearly it's a lie. Well, I'm sorry. There is a reason why the program keeps getting delayed. Why they keep having to take 10 steps backwards before they can take a step forward. It's not like we keep saying they're going to get a bomb and we all just wait. Oh, any minute now, any minute now. No, Israel has been proactive in stopping them from getting a bomb. What happened? Well, 7 Iranian nuclear scientists have been assassinated since 2007. I don't know who's doing it, but somehow they keep, maybe it's high cholesterol, they keep falling down dead. Iran's top nuclear mastermind, Mohsen Fakhrizadeh, whatever the fuck his name is, I don't remember, he was killed in 2020 by a remote control. I just want to take a second.
I remember that remote control machine gun.
Remote control machine gun took the guy out, right? On top of that, the Stuxnet virus. The Stuxnet virus took him back a decade. It destroyed 1,000 centrifuges. This was a virus, a computer virus, uploaded into Iran's nuclear system that was the world's first cyber sabotage operation on a nuclear program. That was unbelievable. By the way, covert operations and sabotage, mystery explosions at the Iranian nuclear sites for the last 15 years have been, let's say, maybe a little attributable to the Mossad. We're talking about explosions at two of the very sites we're talking about right now, the Natanz site and Isfahan and Parchin, which is already, but basically damaged the facilities and derailed the operations over and over and over again. We have seen Israel actually be proactive in saying, no, you don't get a bomb. But instead of us having a bunker buster, we didn't have that. We did one little, like a death by a thousand cuts. And by the time we were done, yeah, they were close in 2012. They were close in 2015. They were close every single time we heard it. It wasn't a mistake. And it wasn't just bullshit that he was spewing in order to get people to go up against Iran. It was, we see it happening, and since we don't have a bunker buster, we have to somehow get these people to trip over and over and over again until finally we have some kind of conclusatory action, which Trump just gave us.
Perfectly said. Men, final thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, the other thing that they've been doing, Golan is absolutely right. The Israelis have been setting them back again and again and again. And then the other thing they've been doing was they've been enriching a lot of uranium up to 60%, which is only weeks away from going weapons grade. At the same time, they've also been creating the delivery vehicles, so the rockets, the missiles, and all that shit that could deliver this stuff. So they have two programs going at the same time. And the intercontinental ballistic missiles, they're like, no, those are just our friendly missiles to spread love and peace. It has nothing to do with nuclear warheads. And then over here, what are you saying? We are only enriching up to 60%. We are not going to 90%. It is only for negotiation, for peaceful energy needs, for our hungry people. No, they've been pushing, they've master negotiators, swindlers, and slimy little fuckers. They have been doing this, and the Europeans have just been going, oh, sure, let's just go along with the nice diplomat guy and what he's saying. No, the actions speak for themselves. There's no reason for them to be enriching above 3%. Period. End of story. And they have tons of that shit. They don't need that. That's enough for like 9 or 10 nuclear bombs. What are you, nuts? And the missile productions, that was one of the major impetuses for this thing, was that they went from producing like 1 or 2 a year. I think they were up to 3,000 a year. And the Israelis were like, soon.
And supplying Russia.
But yeah, yes, that too. But there was never, they were
That's
getting,
a big thing.
They were getting so good at producing these missiles that the arrows and the golden iron domes and all that, they would not be able to keep up. These missiles don't cost as much. So they were just, it was just a war, a arms race, and they were getting way too far ahead. This was not going to go in the right direction. It had to be done now.
It wasn't just the number of missiles, it was also the type of missiles that they were developing. So, yeah, these are all delivery systems. But as we've seen in Israel, you don't need a nuclear bomb in order to get these things causing real damage. They were developing hypersonic. Okay, this is different. Hypersonic versus ballistic and solid fuel missiles. They're harder to detect, they're faster to launch, and they're nearly impossible to intercept. So imagine if they could perfect this even further and then install a nuclear warhead on one of them. We couldn't let them get there. And the next step, by the way, is to destroy and dismantle Iran's ballistic missile program. It has to be the next step. So this is what's happening now. The, hey, let's sit down at the table thing has got to include this part of the process.
I really thank both of you for the way you summed it up, because you're not going to get punditry better than the two of you. I don't care wherever you look. The way you described it right now, so just so people could understand in its simplest form, it's like they had a Ford production company of making missiles. That's where they were getting to. And both of your analysis through this whole thing have been amazing. Tonight have been amazing. I learned a lot. The reason I went back to you, Golan, on that, because it's extremely important, because we're going to see the truthers come out, and I want people to get from our show the facts. I want them to get the facts, not speculation, not rumors, exactly what was going on. We will be back later in the day. Obviously, the president's about to speak very soon, and we'll see what happens in 12 hours. God, let's just pray for the world, pray for our troops, pray for Israel, pray for everybody in that region, no matter what ethnicity, religion, creed, color, sexuality they are. Everybody be safe tonight, and I pray that the world comes together, because President Trump did something that no other president has had the guts to do since 1979. God bless President Trump, and God bless this great country. That's
well said.
Yeah.
Yes. America's back.